Hi students, we are going to discuss procurement pathways, this topic, principles of procurement. So let us go through the basic procurement pathways module and what is procurement and how it is related to tenders and contracts, how it is related to selection of contractors and contracts. We are going to have a brief overview of this procurement concept. So as every time I say, if you go through this big PowerPoint disclaimer, it says that PPT slides are indicative. PPT slides are indicative, and these are not a recommended source for preparation of your end semester examination. So kindly go through the references provided, and I recommend everyone to read the content through the resource which I show during this presentation. So these are the standard sources which I'm going to follow throughout this module. So two MEC library resources have been given, and one reference textbook has been given, which is available in the library, and soft copy also is available. We'll share with you people. So the first, let us see procurement in various ways, like how it is defined. A procurement system is defined as an enclosure. A procurement system encloses a universal definition that explains the process of design and construction of a project. So see this, it defines and explains the process of design and construction of a project, methods, activities, responsibilities, limitations and agreements between the different parties. Then Alan Turner, the textbook which we are going to follow, describes that who should carry the risk and how the right choice of procurement route can ensure that the risk is allocated to whichever party is best placed to manage it. So it says that who is responsible for this project and who decides which procurement strategy has to be implemented and who will take this risk and which contract or who is going to manage. So everything will be decided. That all over it's called as the procurement. So here we will go with this e-library resource. The first one, Mark Hackett and Gary Statham, 2018, the Aqua Group Guide, the Procurement, Tendering and Contract Administration. So we are going through this reference, the chapter 4, then part 2, the chapter 4, the principles of procurement. So let us go through this one. So I recommend everyone to find out e-library resource which is available online. You can see this here. So this is the book which is available online, so you can just read it online, and you can see here part 2, available procurement methods. In this part 2, available procurement methods, this is the principles of procurement. So I recommend everyone to please go through this. So let us come back to our slides. So here it defines procurement as the process of acquiring goods or and services from a supplier or a service provider. So so this is a basic definition of a procurement as a market level. So but coming to today's construction projects, they are vast in scope and it requires several designers, specialist contractors, and it need to take considerable time to complete. So requirement to follow standards. So nowadays construction projects, we have standard requirements and regulations to follow, and interactions between professional consultants, value for money, accountability, contractual relationships, and client specific business objectives. So these are all very important for today's construction project. So hence the construction projects are based on simple established principles of addressing cost, quality and time. So the procurement is almost interrelated to cost, quality and time. So let us see how the cost, quality and time are interrelated. So this is called as the eternal triangle for procurement strategies. So the cost, quality and time are mostly considered that the highest quality, that you can see this one, the highest quality, the lowest cost in the shortest time. This might be the best procurement strategy for a construction, but however it's not possible every time, so we need to compromise with something. So let us see, according to the next slides we can discuss how it can be convinced with other aspects. So the three factors has to be kept in balance with appropriate quality. So the appropriate quality has to be maintained, the acceptable price has to be spent, means the cost should be reasonable, and the time scale should be as minimum as possible. So if it goes like this, you can see that the equatorial triangle is formed, so that everything is in balanced stage. So however, there are various considerations in construction projects. Let us go through some. If you see the first triangle, the two dark places, if you see the first two triangles, the two dark places, the first one is time and the second one is quality. If you see here, the preference has been given to time. It is highlighted. In this condition, the preference has been given to cost. However, the time has also taken part. So these are the significant priorities here. So let us see how it can be done with this. So this is should recommend the most appropriate route. So we have to decide the most appropriate route based on these priorities. How the priorities are protected, outline the various implications, method of procurement. So then only the pre-contract program can be finalized. So the first one is a sample interpretation of the time, cost, and the quality is done here. So you can go to the theories while I just explain the concepts. If you see here, in some projects, there are different priorities for this. I'll come up with an example here. You can see the traditional project here. The design is the design takes this much time, and the cost plan is planned here. Before the end of the design, they start with the tender documents. After they complete tender documents, they go to tender. After they complete the tender process, they start the construction. Here, this is the traditional procurement method. However, comes to design and build, they start with the cost plan, then they go with the tender documents. Then at the time of tendering itself, there will be discussions between the contractor and the owner. So here the contractor takes the responsibility of design and development. That's why this is called as design and build project. So during the design and development stage itself, they start the construction process. If you see the management contracting, so the design takes much time, so then the cost plan. So while during the design itself, they'll parallelly work on cost plan, tender for appropriate management, and tender documents. And during the design stage itself, maybe 1/4 of the construction is already completed. So this is management contracting. So this is the basic three important methods: traditional procurement, design and build, and management contracting. So selection of a procurement strategy may depend on detailed design process. It is depends upon the detailed design process. For example, see, coming to design and build procurement method, design itself being developed and completed by the contractor. But in traditional procurement method, design process is taken care by the design team and will develop the design. You can see here they develop the design, then the next process is followed. But here in design build, the contractor is involved in the design process. So each procurement option has a different time, cost, and quality scenario. So this is what the procurement triangle is. So then the selection of a procurement strategy also recommends the type of construction contract. This is very important. So whatever the procurement strategy you decide on, it decides the type of contract. The selection of any particular form of contract is a secondary consideration to selecting a procurement route. So the first procurement route is very important to be selected. So it can be followed by the type of contract and the tender procedures and all. The selected form of contract merely provides the administrative framework through which the procurement process can be achieved. So the procurement process is very important. So the contract merely provides the administrative framework, so who is responsible, how to do this, and how to pay money, and how to pay bills. So this process the administrative framework will be taken care by the contractor. So major part is depend upon the selection of procurement process. So other than cost, quality and time, so there are some considerations which you need to follow while selection of a procurement strategy. They are mentioned here: the construction design and management regulations, which is generally called as CDM 2015, then risk and accountability. So these three are the major factors which you need to consider. So CDM, generally CDM explains the roles of uh, designers, contractors and clients, and how to coordinate the manage and health and safety throughout the all stages. So the major responsibilities are defined by CDM. So while selecting the procurement strategy, you have to consider the regulations and the standards given by CDM. So however, CDM indirectly influences the procurement strategy. It comprises of, like you can see here, management of the project, nature of the project based on the information available, the contractor selection procedure and his management, like how he is going to subcontractors and all, activities with high risks to health and safety, the employer's rules for site operations. So these are the major factors which are defined by CDM. So the next important thing is you have to consider the risk. So we have to know who is going to take this risk. Like if the client is prepared to accept increased risk, the consultant will have much greater flexibility to devise an effective strategy based on non-traditional procedures. So while taking decisions, employer and the contractor have a basic idea of what are the risks they may face during the project, and if they are ready to take those risks, so there is a flexibility in deciding which project and flexibility in deciding about the time and cost. Accountability means like who will hold the responsibility. So the main significant factors is the level of accountability required for this project as early as possible for consultants to explain the various principles involved so that an early decision can be made. So the accountability, risk, CDM regulations are the major aspects to be considered while selecting a procurement strategy. So let us go to the remaining aspects, like uh, now if you have made a decision on procurement strategy or procurement process or procurement route, then the next step is to decide on which type of contract you are going to select for this type of contract which you are going to select for this project. So we have broadly three parts. So first you need to decide on type of contract and particular terms and conditions under which the work will be carried out, and the selection of the contractor, and establishing the contract price and how the price will be arrived at. So you can just go through the concepts given. So we have available types of contracts, are two available types of contracts: the new engineering contract and the JCT, which is joint contracts tribunal. So then we go with a tendering procedure. So the tendering procedure is simply the tendering procedure is to select a suitable contractor, appropriate time and appropriate cost to complete the project. So generally we assume that the tendering is only based on the lowest price by the design, but somewhere we have some obligations where contractor may take place into design and process also, like design and build contract and all. So tender offer not only the price but quality and the time within which the work will be completed. So tender involves all these aspects. So this will give you a brief idea about what is a basic procurement strategy is. So procurement strategy, how can you select on a procurement strategy, what are the preferences you have, then from the preferences you should know that you have to consider CDM, risk and accountability. So once the procurement has been decided, so what type of contract you will select. So according to the type of contract you have selected, the type of tendering and the selection of contractor is also dependent. So you need to consider all this while selection of a procurement. So let us end this topic here, and next we'll continue with the remaining topics. Thank you.